Welcome, weary wanderers. Welcome to the Saloon of Strength, the Chasm of Creeps, the Section of Slime. Welcome to Omnerd. Today I'm going to transfigure Ben 10 aliens into monster girls. Transform them. If you enjoy the mollification of your childhood, give my video a like and subscribe. Leave a comment below and we'll get started. June 30th, 939, Blessed Age. I've been studying a tribe of Pyro Knights for a month now, and it's been fascinating. I was prompted to seek out this group and seek out this species and gain further information, since Pyro Knights are very solitary, rarely deigning to leave their volcanic homes. People would at times go missing when venturing too close to a volcano known to be home to a group of this monster girl. Given their reclusive nature and possible danger to nearby towns, I've set out to Mount Rust, not quite sure whether or not I'd return. Once I'd managed to make my way into the depths of Mount Rust, finding a cavernous orifice with a bubbling lake of molten minerals, causing me to become wary at the increase of potential danger, both from the lava and the knowledge that I was now close to my objective. I kept to a ledge close to the entrance and began my observations. My first surprise was learning that they had crafted, and were still crafting, a village out of the rocks of the cavern, using their molten hands and ability to mentally manipulate lava to melt away the cavern into the structures they desired. They spent most of their time training their powers and sparring against each other. While they sparred, they wore armor made of molten rock. They would burrow themselves into the ore that they chose for the armament, and melt it around themselves until it was to their liking. There were about 400 individuals in this village, and they all seemed very close. They ate together in a carved courtyard, trained together, and helped each other with whatever they needed. Depth worms would attack at times, and they would all band together to defend their home, coordinating on instinct and with an impressive cohesion. It was incredible to watch. I've kept an eye out for any humans that may have been seized or have been held since their capture, but I haven't found any. I'll continue to search for them. I made a mistake. I wasn't as careful as I had been. Maybe it was because I'd been in these caverns for a month. Maybe there was no reason. But they've spotted me. I've had to run. But they can melt through rock, whereas I have to go around. I may not make it. Well, I've been wondering what happens to humans they capture. I might find out. January 7th, 944, Blessed Age. I've been studying Lebetans. I've actually been able to stay with a hive for a little while. The hive is incredible, made from a solidified mucus they excrete from their eye stalks. As unsettling as that sounds, it becomes smooth and durable when it solidifies. They build it into the side of mountains, compounding the excretion into a large structure. As the hive grows and develops, requiring more space, they can also secrete an acid to dissolve the structure where they need to expand and rebuild accordingly. Lebetans are an agriculturally centered species, tending to the fauna in their area, nurturing the growth of massive forests. Some Lebetan queens prefer a challenge, building their hives near deserts and cultivating them, drastically altering the ecosystem. It's rumored that one Lebetan hive converted a desert into a lush rainforest, certain species indigenous to that area adapting in interesting ways in order to recover from the sudden change in environment. From what I can tell, Lebetan mucus acts as a nutrient-rich fertilizer that absorbs into soil and permeates it. The mucus is then absorbed through the roots of plants, facilitating the growth and decreasing growth speed. Given that Lebetans can travel long distances in very short periods of time on their powerful, albeit gossamer wings, they can travel to collect seeds to plant into the fields or sand prepared by the mucus. While there is an excellent potential for their agricultural abilities, the land in which they cultivate, more so if they focus on cultivating fauna not indigenous to the region, becomes dependent on the Levitan hive. Noticeable instances of Levitan hives relocating to another location has seen the systematic decomposition of the area within 5 years of the hive's relocation. As soon as the supply of mucus stops in an area that had become dependent on the Levitan population in that area, the ecosystem deteriorates very quickly. As for society within a Levitan hive, it's cordial, to be mild. While not connected through a hive mind, the harmony in which they conduct themselves is admirable. There isn't necessarily a closeness between the majority, more than it is that each individual has her assignment and completes it efficiently. Small groups of individuals may become close and form a formal friendship, although those groups remain small and intimate. But overall, they are polite and brief in their interactions with one another. The government in Levitan hives, and I've had the privilege to stay at multiple hives in order to cross-reference the accuracy of this information, is a strict monarchy where the queen dictates explicitly and solely what direction she wants for the hive, where it will be located, what plants they'll focus on the growth of, etc. In my interactions with various Levitan queens, I've found that they care deeply for their hive, wanting it to grow and flourish, likely due to the fact that the majority of the hive is either comprised of their sisters or daughters. But nevertheless, each queen has her own ambitions, and their hive follows suit. I've had a few marriage proposals from the queens I've interacted with. Interesting. How lacking in danger this endeavor of research was proved to be a relaxing reprieve from the constant threats to my life in my line of work. Although I've just received a new request for investigation that won't be nearly so relaxing. I'll get to that tomorrow. For now, I'll enjoy my tea. January 10th, 9:44, blessed age. My studies have now taken me deep into the jungles of the Goris, looking for an opportunity to observe the Volsci. It's a species that, from what I've heard, is more bestial in behavior than some of the other creatures I've been studying. I'll have a chance to verify that information for myself if I'm able to find any. That jungle is dense and vast, and I'm not sure it's the population size of Volsci in this area. Only that there have been a handful of sightings, and I hope to come across some soon. February 11th, 9:44. It's been a month since my last entry, but I was able to find a Volsci about 2 weeks ago. It's been fascinating, if terrifying. When I first came upon one, she was taking a drink from a water hole. I had previously anticipated the possibility of being picked up by an acute sense of smell and put in danger, and took a preventative measure of covering myself in mud and grime of the jungle floor. Not the most pleasant experience, but worth it if it ensured my safety. But I underestimated just the acuity of a Volsci's senses. She smelled me through the mud and grime and pounced on me when she finished her drink. I was certain I would be slain, either for food or as a breach in her territory, when I peered into her snarling jaws, rimmed with unnervingly sharp teeth, some of which stained red. In those terrifying moments, I made an interesting discovery. She had no eyes. In the sightings I had heard before, it had been assumed that Volsci had eyes, and they were just hidden under the overgrown fur on their head. But now I wondered, seeing no orifice for ocular organs anywhere on her face, if none of them had eyes. I suppose, though, she could have been an outlier with a peculiar birth defect. Anyhow, she snarled at me for a moment, then stopped and closed her mouth, tilting her head and breathing deeply, familiarizing herself with my scent. The long fur on her head twitched, and she pawed at my face, presumably getting a sense about me. When she had finished, she snorted in parting and left through the jungle. I didn't allow myself time for my heart to calm from the panic I had just felt, pursuing her gently but swiftly so as not to lose her. It was difficult, as she was acrobatically and adeptly swinging from branch to branch, likely searching for prey, or just surveying the territory, or the area she considered as her territory. I was certain she knew I was there, especially when she deigned to pause and crouch on a branch, her long hairs rustling, likely sensing the vibrations generated by my movement, however slight. I held my breath in the beginning, fearing she would take my following her as a threat or a challenge. And after a moment passed, she continued on her way. I wondered if perhaps she found amusement in my actions and so allowed me to follow. Or perhaps she was just curious as to the reason that I was following her. Allowing me to follow as a way to see what I would do. For whatever reason, I was allowed to observe her, and I took full advantage. A few days after our first encounter, another bull sheep crossed her path, and I made my second major observation. They immediately were at odds at each other, growling and circling their adversary before moving on. I noticed this as confirmation of the species being a solitary kind. I had earlier wondered if that was the case, or if this individual I was following was unique in her solitude. But now I seem to have confirmation that they kept mostly to themselves, likely if they had family they would travel with them. She was primarily carnivorous, preying on whatever animal she happened upon. Her days were carried about in a simple manner. She traveled a radius around the jungle about a mile large, her territory, I suppose. She would often hunt for food, stop for water, or to eat a kill, and then continue on, almost always on the move and sleeping at sundown. I had to sleep lightly when she did so as not to lose her. She would ward off any other predator or her kind that wandered in her territory, although some predators she would attack outright and kill for food, or to establish further her dominance in the territory. Hers was a simple routine, but she seemed satisfied. The last and most curious observation was when she had stopped at another watering hole and with her latest kill. I ran out of food days earlier, and watching her eat, my stomach growled. Her head perked up, likely at my outburst in particular, and she disappeared. Suddenly she was right next to me, her head tilted, killer mouth pawing at my jacket. My stomach growled again, and she tore a chunk from her prey, making a mewling sound, a mewling sort of chirrup as she thrust the meat in my chest. I took the meat and looked at it, then back at her. Not wanting to anger her, I took a bite out of it, smiled, a little unnerved from the taste and texture of raw meat, and worried that I might develop food poisoning from the uncooked flesh, and put it down after swallowing. She nudged it in my hand until I continued eating. When I had finished, she licked my forehead, growled happily, and curled down to sleep, cuddled up to me. It's been a week since then, and she seems to have taken me to seeing me as a cub, sharing her kills with me, stopping for me to catch up if I fall behind, or if I fell behind, grooming my hair after a meal, etc. I've tried to depart a handful of times, having considered my observations complete, but as I would wander away from her, she would appear in front of me and corral me back to the direction she had been wandering. I'm currently wondering how, or even if, I'll be able to leave this place. My new mother may never let me. Well, that's all for this video, Weary Wanderers. I hope you enjoyed the little break that this reprieve may have provided to you. Hope it's been restful, either physically or mentally. If you ever find my door again, feel free to stop by. Please, again, leave a like and comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the video and want to see more. Please comment below as to what you thought of the video and what aliens you might want to see turned into monster girls in a future video. Goodbye for now, and until we meet again, good luck, best, and Kwam, and whatever.